Environmental. Jay, welcome.
Thank you, Jamie. Glad to be here.
It's always good to see you. So tell me exactly, because this is a new company for you, or fairly
Yes.
new. Tell me about Kilfinane Environmental.
Okay. Well, we started Kilfinane during the pandemic. My prior business is energy efficiency solutions, and it involves lighting and other things. And at the beginning of the pandemic, if you remember looking back, every ad you saw in the newspaper or the magazines was some guy in a full hazmat suit with a gas mask on, and he was spraying down your office, and he was spraying down your chair and your curtains and your rugs and all that. And I knew that that's really, really, really unhealthy. You're probably better off having COVID than having that stuff sprayed on your chair. So I did a lot of research and started to work on alternative solutions. And I knew, I presupposed what was going to be the best solution, that is ultraviolet light. So we started a business for disinfection. And in the beginning, we were disinfecting surfaces because if you recall at the beginning of the pandemic, they told everyone, don't touch your mail, don't touch your groceries, don't touch anything, don't touch your face. And like a lot of what we learned in the early days of the pandemic, it's turned out, as we've learned more, that was all wrong. The way 99% of COVID infections are transmitted is through breathing indoor air. Excuse me. And so you need to have a solution that will disinfect indoor air without adding things, without the harmful chemical additives I was discussing before. And when people think of indoor air or think of air quality, they tend to think of HVAC because you use your HVAC to heat and cool, but you also bring in fresh air from outside to dilute and all that. And the problem is, and there are unscrupulous HVAC guys who do this, but if you put UVC units in your vents, and they used to do this in order to keep mold and bacteria off of coils and condensers, so it was a legitimate practice. But when the pandemic started, people said, "Oh, we'll put these in your vents and we'll keep your air clean and keep all the germs out." Well, that's problematic on two levels. One is there's no green cloud of COVID outside waiting to come in and get you. COVID is generated by sick people inside your business, inside your building. If somebody is coughing or sneezing or breathing or yawning or singing, they are emitting little droplets. And the big ones immediately drop due to gravity. They're not the problem. The tiny little ones, they call them the aerosolized droplets, are extremely small, extremely light, and they can stay suspended in your air for 8, 12 hours, sometimes for days. But if the concentration of those droplets in your air is sufficient to infect, if there's enough pathogens in your air, then you're going to get sick. So you need a way to kill those. I'll correct myself. You need a way to destroy those pathogens. The only reason I say that is bacteria and molds are live, so you can kill them. But viruses are not considered life, so you can't kill them. You can only deactivate them. But you need a way to deactivate those viruses. And I'll take a step back and say that not only, COVID is airborne, but also colds, flu, strep, TB, measles. There are a lot of diseases that are airborne and spread the same way on these tiny aerosolized droplets. So even if you're one of these people who says COVID's over, which it isn't, but you still would benefit from this because think about, along with low back pain, what keeps most people out of the office? Why are people absent due to sickness? It's cold, flu, strep, and now include COVID. So you're going to cut down on your absenteeism, and you're going to ultimately cut down on your healthcare costs if people are healthier. So we have, we are consultants in this business, but we've done the research, and we've found a handful of the safest and most effective products that are also economical. And we will help people, we will help people figure out how many you need and what it will cost. And that's what we do. So we're helping people stay healthy and keep their people healthy.
So I hear people when we talk about this saying, yeah, the pandemic's over. As you say, it's not that COVID's over. Let's call it the pandemic portion of this is over. Um,
Right,
People are still getting COVID every day, but they're also
right,
getting colds and flu every day. And this is not
right.
just about COVID, because as you say, this is about making the indoor air quality um,
Healthier.
fresh. I don't know,
Yeah.
healthier. Health. I like that. Making the indoor. This is about making the indoor air quality
Because
healthier.
there are different components to indoor air quality. There, you do need the HVAC system to bring in fresh air.
Mhm.
Um, and there are other solutions for things like if you have if you're a factory and there's heavy dust and all that, our solution doesn't help with that. So that's a separate issue. But we're really the only solution for destroying indoor pathogens, and that's, I should say, we're the only safe and effective one because there is a lot of
A-
competition, but
And how do you? What kind of equipment does someone need to be able to do this?
so the the primary product that we recommend is called UV Angel, and UV Angel is the size of a 2x4 lighting fixture. It's designed to go into a drop ceiling, but can easily be mounted on a hard ceiling as well. And basically, it sucks air in on one side. It has a fan, puts it through a tube, a chamber with a very narrow chamber with a powerful UVC lamp that kills or deactivates all the
Mhm.
pathogens. And then the fan on the other side, puts the air back out into the room. So that does a couple of things. One is by having it in the ceiling, you take advantage of the thermal currents in a room.
Mhm.
So if you used our technology and just put a freestanding unit down in the corner, it would do some good, but mostly down in that corner. By putting it in the ceiling, you're taking advantage of the thermal currents in the room, and then you're enhancing that with the fans. So this is totally independent of, but it's complementary to your HVAC system because you're going to get, if you install this the way we recommend, you're going to get an additional 4 air turns per hour. So air turns is an HVAC term, and ideally you want a minimum of 12 air changes per hour.
Okay.
So this is kind of a very ancillary benefit, but let's say you are getting 12 air changes per hour out of your HVAC system. You could actually turn that down because when you have a UV Angel in the room, you're getting some additional air changes, or you could leave it that way and just be even healthier. But it could save you a little money in that regard.
And so, since you also have a lighting company, a utility, an energy company, when you're putting in the light fixtures, might as well put in a couple of these UV angels at the same time while you're up in the ceiling, right?
Well, I mean, I would say so, but I usually keep them. I usually keep the two separate. And I don't want to confuse people because UV Angel is not an energy efficiency. You're going to use more electricity. However, they are very energy efficient.
All right,
One
so
unit, one
I
unit uses like 115 watts, and that's versus a 4 lamp T8 typical fluorescent fixture is about 135 watts. So it's using less electricity than a typical fluorescent lamp with 4 lamps. So it's pretty efficient. It's also
and
very quiet. It's also
oh,
it's extremely quiet. You wouldn't know it's there.
mhm.
A typical office is rated at about 50 decibels, and this is about 30 decibels. And then if it's in a drop ceiling, it's even less. You don't even know it's there. It's actually attractive. It's not a bad. It's a pretty good looking unit.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna sell it on its cosmetics. So I don't know how big the office space that you're in is because we only see where you are. But if you're in if you're in a shared office, let's say there's 4 people in an office and it's 200 square feet or something like that. How many of these units would you need?
in that space, you need one. So a typical, I mean, one unit is rated to cover about 1,500 cubic feet, not square feet, but cubic feet, because it's volume, not area. And what that's roughly a 10 by 20 room with an 8 to 10 foot ceiling. So your typical office needs one, your typical conference room needs one or two, typical restroom needs one, a classroom might need four, two, four, and then bigger rooms, auditorium could use, it would be measured out, and our engineers would help you on that and let you know.
So stay with that for the moment. So if, I have my office is, 10 by 10, 10 by 12, 10 by 15. Each individual office would need one of these units?
Yes, yeah, it doesn't, well, and the answer is yes. However, if you are an actuary and you've got a room in the back and nobody ever comes in your office, you don't really need it, because you're not going to infect yourself. If you're already sick, you're sick. If you're not, you're not. It's, you need these where people congregate. So you need them in waiting areas, in conference rooms, in public, group restrooms. You need them if you've got a bullpen with lots of cubicle offices. You need that's a very important place to have them. You need them in a classroom. You need them, so you need them where if you're the CEO and you've got a nice private office, but people come in and out all day, you need it there too. So that's, it's where people congregate, where people come through, because it only takes one sick person.
But I am thinking about it as, in one of my offices of the past, there were, say, 4 or 5 offices in a row. And our administrative assistants and a couple of other people were in a bullpen type of atmosphere just outside of our offices. So you really don't need them in the offices themselves. If you had them in the bullpen area, that's the best place that's the most effective place to put them.
You would need it most in the bullpen area. And then depending on, what type of business and what kind of
Oh,
conventions you have in
I
that
never
business.
let anybody in my
Yeah.
office. But and that's the point. So that's what we're saying, people, that's what we're saying is it's the traffic areas.
Right, where
So
people congregate.
it doesn't hurt to have it in every office,
Right,
but if you're, if you want to limit your expenses, you put it into the most heavy trafficked areas, like you said, the lobby, the bullpen,
right,
the restrooms. That's an
right,
interesting idea that, obviously that's a place where there's a lot of germs.
right.
So
Well, some like people will sometimes try to pin me down, and I'll say, listen, there's no perfect 100% solution. Unless, even if you're willing to spend $1 million on a 500 square foot office, I mean, you're not going to get a perfect 100%. But you got to do what's best for the people, the most likely way to prevent people from getting sick. And so, if so, for instance, UV Angel has installed an Apple headquarters out in California. Their budgets are pretty good. So, you know, are they going to put them in individual offices? Yes. But for most people, that you just have to make a kind of a value judgment with us, with the engineers, and say, yeah, we need them in these places, and boy, we'd like to have them in those places, but we're not going to do that because it's just beyond our budget.
is it a case of something is better than nothing at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if we put it in the bullpen, and we put it in the restroom, we put it in the lobby, again, we put it in the hallways, in the traffic areas, then, we're reducing our percentage of getting sick by a significant number.
Significant amount. And the places that we're really focusing on now are first order of importance are schools and healthcare facilities. Healthcare for obvious reasons, and then schools because you're bringing lots and lots of little petri dishes into these little. I'm being facetious.
Anybody who
Each
has young children knows
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about.
each kid is a little petri dish. You bring dozens of them into these spaces every day. And then maybe the next tier is restaurants, hotels, gyms, which you're trying to get people back into those businesses and keep them healthy. And then just all other, the typical business and office. And if you've got a 200,000 square foot factory with 30-foot ceilings, you're not going to do this.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
it's indoors. It's in places where there's traffic, people,
Mhm.
and the more people and the more traffic and the more closer together. So, you know, years ago, we all went from offices to cubicles. So
Mhm.
anybody who's working in a cubicle and you've got three other people in your cube, then
That's a
you want one of these things. You
prime
want one of
place
these
for it.
things. And going back to any of you who listened to Jay in a previous podcast where he talked about lighting energy, and how it had immediate ROI, gave better light and all. What you're talking about here is by putting a UV angel in the office in the right places and making the workspace healthier, your byproduct is less sick employees who show up to work more often. So win-win.
And happier employees, because while we joked before, some people think the pandemic, well, that COVID is over. It's not. But on the flip side of that, there's still people who worry. Some because they have uh, health conditions, others just because they tend to be more concerned about these things than everyone. And if you have people that really, really worry about this, you're going to make them a lot more willing to come to work. If you can show them we're doing everything we can to keep you safe and healthy. As a matter of fact, we have a lot of these in places like McDonald's and Starbucks. And in places like that, we actually have stickers. You put them on your floor, and if somebody sees a sticker on the floor, it says "Look up," and they look up, and it says we're doing everything we can to keep you safe and healthy.
All
And
right.
you can put that in the bathrooms at work and just make people healthier. I'll go out on a limb here, um, because there are the people who think everything's hunky dory now and it's all over, and then the people who worry about everything and for whatever reason. And sometimes when I talk to people, they say, well, why don't I just wear a mask, or, I'm vaccinated, or, I use social distancing. And people think this is political, but it's not. This is based on, engineering, science, and facts. But we spoke earlier about the tiny aerosolized droplets. So if you have a sick person in the room and they're shedding COVID or cold or flu or whatever the case may be, tuberculosis, um, as they breathe, as they hang around in that room, the concentration of those pathogens in the air increases. Once that level gets to a sufficient level to infect, no mask is going to help you. No social distancing is going to help you. No plexiglass divider is going to help you. And unfortunately, we've already learned that vaccines do not prevent infection, and they do not prevent transmission. So we need to do the one thing that can really help, and that is to disinfect indoor air. I'm
And,
not saying
and
I'm not saying vaccines are totally useless. I'm saying they don't prevent infection and they don't prevent transmission. So
this prevents the spread
yes,
of illness,
this
of the
reduces.
virus.
Nothing prevents 100%. Right? If a guy walks in and coughs in your face, this thing isn't going to help you.
So again, referring to an earlier podcast where you talked about electricity, I was joking you and saying that EV chargers was going to be the new great employee benefit. UV Angel in the indoor air quality is the newest and greatest employee benefit. Work
I,
here and stay healthy.
I think that's true, and I'll go put on my salesman hat here, and I'll say that in the 1900s, uh, early 1900s, people used to drink bad water and eat tainted food, and they used to get really sick and die. But we learned about water hygiene, we learned about food hygiene, and we invested a lot in infrastructure. And now those are much, much, much smaller problems than they were in the past. And I really believe that COVID was a catalyst, which is going to, it's accelerated the work from home, and it's accelerated other trends that were slow. I think indoor air hygiene is truly a wave of the future. I don't know if it's in 5 or 15 or 25 years, everybody will have this, because there's no reason not to, because it's safe, effective, and energy efficient. But it's a new concept and it's going to take some time. But this is a wave of the future.
So you are the Mr. Carrier of the 21st century, bringing air conditioning, indoor air quality to the
Mhm.
masses. All right.
Well, I didn't invent it, but I'm more the evangelist for it.
We'll give you credit for it from that standpoint. And like you didn't have to invent it, but you got to put it in. So Jay, we've cleaned our office. We've put UV angels in our ceilings, and we've got indoor air quality that's healthy and keeping our people healthy. But what about everywhere else? Are there other mechanisms, other ways, other tools, other products to keep us safe in other places?
Well, Jamie, that's a great question. And the answer is yes, for two very specific, but two very important ones. And that is, aside from UV Angel, I have another product that uses the exact same technology, but it's been designed and engineered specifically for elevator cars. Elevator cars, shaft air, it's a lot of knowledge we don't have to get into, but it works. And for multi-story buildings, elevator cars are quite often a choke point for people who are unhealthy or who are afraid of COVID, of coming back to work. And then just on the reality, it is a place where a lot of people congregate in the course of the day. There are germs of all kinds beyond COVID. So it's a great place for disinfecting the indoor air. And then school bus, again, using different technology, different engineering, different design. But when you get a whole bunch of little kids in the same spot for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes every morning and every afternoon, it's good to keep them safe and healthy as well.
But that's not indoor air quality. But I guess you're talking about it because usually the windows are shut in the bus and the
All I'm talking
people
about
are
if
in a small.
if the windows are shut. Yeah, if you had the windows wide open, then it wouldn't be as big a deal.
Most of the time, they don't like those windows open. What about railroad cars?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. I don't have a solution for that yet. They're working on it. They're working on this for railroad cars and airliners as well.
Because the thing you touched on was, people's fear of going back to the office. One of the concerns was, you're sitting in a cubicle. Another was the fact if you're in a multi-story building, getting on an elevator. Remember how
Mhm.
we were only allowing 4 people on an elevator at a time? So it was
Yeah,
taking
they'd
45, it
have
was taking,
arrows and you'd face away from each other.
and it would take 45 minutes to get up to your floor.
Right,
So now we can put people back on the elevators, back in the cubicles. And then, of course, the last piece to that puzzle was the commuting to and from the city
right.
or wherever to get on. So trains, elevators, cars.
Trains and planes are still an issue. I haven't found, first of all, I mean, it's not up to me to solve that problem, but I have not found that technology yet that works that's as well designed and engineered as what we have for indoors or in an elevator car or in a bus. Um,
Oh,
but they're working on it.
all right. Well, there you go. Again, I think the biggest thing, as you talked about, is that there's an education process. There's a learning curve to this. And over the next few years, I would expect to see new inventions, new creative ideas on how we maintain indoor air quality. So again, thank you, Jay. And stay safe, stay healthy. And
Well, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate you having me on.
it's great to see you. And you are the king of putting people back in the office.
There you go.
Have a great day.
Take
Hey,
care. You too.
quality, clean and healthy. Give me a call. My name is Jamie Austin. I'm with PSP Turnkey Solutions. You can call me at 631-241-3958 or email me at Jamie, that's JAMIE at PSP Turnkey Solutions. Thank you, Jay. This was very interesting, very educational, and let's all put in UV Angel fixtures and keep our office space air quality healthy and our people
Thank you.
healthy.
Well, thank you, Jamie. Thanks for having me.